want to make sure you lift with your legs, not your back. You want to make sure you keep your back straight, which is this arch here. If you lose that arch and you try and lift somebody, that's where you're going to hurt your discs in your back or your muscles in your back. So you want to make sure you always keep the arch in your back, you lift with your legs, and then you keep the resident as close to you as you can. The farther they are from you, the more stress and the harder it's going to be to transfer them to any surface that you're going to. So those are the three biggest things. If you have those right, you're probably going to be okay. Outside of that, usually what we're doing in these facilities that I found, and you guys can correct me if there's other transfers that you're doing, but usually we're going from the bed to a chair, or the chair to the bed, or a chair to a chair. So in those situations, you want to make sure your chair is set up right, whether it's your wheelchair or the surface that you're going to. I put everybody on a 45-degree angle, so if this is my wheelchair or what have you, so we'll say that this is, if that's their bed they're coming off of, and I'm coming in with my wheelchair, I come in at a 45-degree here, not right here. It's just easier, there's less distance you have to go. Usually there's enough space to get them from here to here, in this space here. Sometimes there might not be, and you might have to open it up. But if you can make this 45 degrees, it's going to make your life a lot easier. You don't have to go as far when you do your transfer. So that's what I try and focus on. Always get that 45 degrees. Lift with the legs, keep the arch in your back, and keep them as close to you as you can. Now the other thing I typically see is people are trying to transfer them with their arms, underneath their arms, and kind of putting all the force through the resident's arms. You don't want to use their arms. You don't want to grab their arms. You don't want to come up underneath their shoulder and lift through their shoulder. These are small joints that can't take a lot of that force. Usually at the age that we're dealing with, these people have very frail tissue in there. Their rotator cuffs are just like lasagna noodles. If you overcook them, that's actually what it looks like in there. It's that frail. So if you go and pull that, we end up with a lot of rotator cuff tears, shoulder injuries, things like that. Not to mention the skin is usually very thin on the arms from blood thinners and things. So I try and stay away from their arms. I usually would use a gait belt if you have it, but that doesn't seem to be maybe realistic in this environment because they're not always there. Sometimes they are in the patient's rooms. But if you use a gait belt, you go around the waist if you can. Because that way, when you go to use that gait belt, you can keep them in closer and you have a better leverage to do it. If it's up higher, that's the next place we would have to go, is up under the shoulders, above the chest. We don't like to do that, but if we have to do that because of how they're built or something, you can do that. But in that case, even if we had the gait belts around them, I'm still reaching around and holding the gait belt, whether it's low or whether it's up high. So the force still goes through their torso, which is much more apt to be able to take the force that you're putting through their body when you go to transfer them. All my transfers are one-person transfers. You might run into some issues where you're doing these two-people transfers where you guys are up under the arms and doing that. That's just hard if they're that heavy and that big. There's not a great answer for that. I would probably still have one person in the front and another person maybe behind, assisting, guiding in that way, as opposed to hooking arms and pulling through the arms. So those are the basics.